right, another Motorcycle.com shootout here. 5 bikes, a middleweight mashup. Got 5 different engine configurations, starting down at the lowest CCs, Benelli's TnT600. 4-cylinder, the only 4-cylinder of the group. Then right here is Suzuki's SV650 V-twin, kind of like a mini Ducati monster, but from Japan. And it's been one of our favorite bikes ever since it's been introduced back in the 90s. Kawasaki Z650 over there, brand new for 2017. It's got a parallel twin motor, kind of like the Yamaha's FZ-07 over there, but that has a 270-degree crank. And that's one fantastic motorcycle. We've been raving about that one for a few years since it came out. And then kind of the odd duck here is another V-twin, but it's from Harley-Davidson, Harley's Street Rod 750. John went to the press launch for it and they said, oh yeah, it competes with SV650s and all that kind of stuff. So here it is to add an American flavor. Japan, America, Japan, China via Italy, and another Japan. So got quite an assortment of motorcycles here, and pretty much the common thread is fun at a price that's pretty easy to bite on, around $7 or so. John, tell us about that Street Rod, see how that matches up with these things, does it?
What about that Street Rod? It matches up with the other ones, kind of. It's a little bit different, like Harleys are always a little different. But we actually had a pretty nice little ride on some twisty roads up here, and it does pretty good. It's got pretty good ground clearance at least. Kind of like what I learned at the launch, the ergonomics are a little bit weird on it. I don't know if everybody agrees with me on that. The handlebar could come back a little bit, or the foot pegs, it's not like the other ones, let's put it like that. We'll go into that more later. But the engine seems like it pulls pretty good. It's a XG750 street motor. Yep. It's kind of hot rod a little bit. It's supposed to make, I think, like 10 more horsepower or something. We're gonna take it to the dyno tomorrow, so we're not exactly sure yet. It's pretty good to ride. It's a little unusual, but it's good. On the Kawasaki's the wild card too, because I think we could almost call it like the monster wannabe middleweight, because like the SV trellis frame from Suzuki, a poor man's monster, followed by the FZ, which is not quite a trellis, but in that same naked bike mold. And Kawasaki wants it on the game too, because it's apparently a really big selling class. They're all about $7,000. That's where the Harley's a little different also. But you know, yeah, they're really fun bikes to ride, I think.
And Evans, what's your take on these things? You've been riding parallel twin Kawasaki's for a couple decades, haven't you?
I started out, my first bike was a parallel twin Kawasaki's. The Z650 hits me in the right place, sound-wise, vibration-wise. It's got bigger displacement than what I started on, and I am really digging this bike. I think this bike has a great package, and I can't wait to really log some more time and see how it shakes down compared to the others. But right now, it's put a smile on my face with its quick handling and bottom end grunt and a sound that I just really like.
Well, I'm standing next to the Benelli, so I'll talk about that. I love the green, and I think the styling of this bike is really, I love it. I think it's great. It's probably my favorite out of all these, aside from the Harley, but that's, you know, it's a different kind of thing. Unfortunately, the engine, just coming over here on the freeway, just felt a little, you know, when I think of 600s, I think of screaming 600s on the track, R6s, GX0s that are really just, they pull hard and they wind out hard. I didn't really get that on this bike, but it's still early.
I didn't really get that on there.
It's got the lowest displacement, so it's going to have the least torque, and I think we can all agree that it feels like it, right?
And if we pull over and there might be a sock stuck in the intake or something, I think we might fall out if we keep going.
Well, I will say this, when we were coming up here, I came out of a corner and I was in second gear. I had the thing pinned just to the stop, down on the tank, and who goes right by me on the Harley?
And Tammy, how about you? What have you learned so far on our ride?
Well, as someone coming at this from pretty fresh eyes into the sport bike world, I think this is a good displacement level to begin with. So I'm sort of looking at this as someone who is in the market for either a commuter bike or is new to the world would see it. Looking for torque and handling that won't get me into trouble in some of the twisties, as well as something that has enough power to get me to and from work. The Harley, out of everything, early impressions, handles much differently than the other 4 bikes. However, I am having a ton of fun on the SV650, and Cowie's taken a pretty good ride so far.
Yeah, so we got a pretty nice crop of competitors here, each of them with a slightly different personality. So So we're gonna hop back on the bikes, get on the road, and do some more riding and figure this thing out, find out which one's the best.
As the sun sets here above the Pacific, high above Azusa, California, on beautiful Glendora Mountain Road, we ride a lot of expensive bikes that have a lot of horsepower, and these are not so expensive, although they're still all like $7,000–8,000 bucks. But
Not so bad.
I have a great time riding these little bikes. These are some of my favorite bikes, middleweight naked bikes. Does anybody have a strong opinion about the bike that they love, or do we love all like our favorite children? Which one's our favorite child?
Well, I'd say what we got going on here is the two bikes on the ends are the outliers. They got different displacements and they got about 500 pounds. So they kind of stand out on their own. 600cc with the Benelli and 500 and some pounds. And the Harley is about the same weight, nearabouts, and it's 750cc, and it's got the odd ergonomics, right? None of us really got along with that.
It's got strange ergonomics, but people, in spite of the ergonomics, a couple people were really impressed by it, and they were kind of surprised at how well it works, in spite of the kind of strange ergonomics, which we surmise might be fixable with just a different handlebar that moves the grips back a couple inches.
Or intense yoga. A lot of yoga.
A lot of yoga, yeah.
Designed by Dominatrix, approved by all.
But as far as going around corners and all, what's your impression of that bike, Ty?
The reason why we're all kind of iffy about the ergonomics of it is because you're literally, it's not really a forward position, but it's not really a mid position. And what happens is your hip flexors get a great workout and you end up with your knees on your elbows and you're kind of hunched over. So it's a really
Awkward.
Very awkward. And so, but once you find that balance point, it hustled.
Yeah, everything works.
Yeah.
pretty
There's
well.
a very
Actually-
specific position you must find yourself in
Yes.
on that bike
Yeah, yeah.
in order to be comfortable through the twisties, but then you end up a little bit stiff. Whereas some of these other machines have a little bit more versatility and ergonomics, and
Yeah, I'd
you
like
can
to
sort of shift yourself around a little bit more.
I find the lower body position so uncomfortable and offensive that they would think that they could put this out and tell me, oh yeah, it's great, go ride. I'm sorry, the riding position ruins what could be a really fun bike, because the engine is really nice, has a wonderful exhaust note, it has a lot of bottom end grunt, but I just can't get past the lower body position.
But the flip side of that, it's pretty easy to fix. I don't know if you can fix it yourself, but
I think a new
there's gonna
frame
be
would do wonders for
some
the bike.
aftermarket.
Yeah,
there's
it
going to be
needs
some
more distance
aftermarket
between
stuff.
the seat and the peg.
Yeah.
It really does. Especially
So,
for sport riding and for any kind of active riding. You kinda
Pilates is
walk
good.
into-
Pilates, stretching the hip flexors.
But on the plus
and-
side, didn't we all pretty much say that's probably the best looking bike of the bunch? Don't we like that one?
I don't know if it's,
think
I don't
it
know if
is.
it's best looking.
I think
I
it's
agree.
nice looking,
I
but
agree.
I think it's the best looking Harley
of the
here
bunch.
today.
If you were a Harley rider and a Harley patron looking for a sportier bike, that would definitely be your go-to.
Good point.
That or the Roadster that we did test previously.
Yeah, that's a completely different price range though, right? So,
Okay.
But speaking of good looks, I think we all really like the Benelli too. So
Yep.
the two outliers, I think, are probably our favorite looking bikes, in at least for a few of us. And there's some great attention to detail in that Benelli. The composite frame, the tubular steel, and then the aluminum, got side exit valve stems. It's a really nice looking bike. But the motor is the big letdown on that one. It feels like there's like a plug wire not missing or something.
It takes forever to spool up, it takes forever to spool down.
You get on the gas at low RPM and it seems fine, it feels okay, and then you crack it on expecting it to jump ahead, and it doesn't really respond with any greater urgency. So that motor, I think, just lets that bike
I think
down.
0 to 60 timed by a calendar, it's
But
lacking punch.
Yeah, but it's hard to say what it is. I kind of thought at first, because like when you said you roll it on, it doesn't do anything, and then when you get it spooled up and you're going into a corner, you roll it off, it doesn't have any engine braking either.
You get up around 9,000–10,000 RPMs and the engine finally wakes up.
I agree. Yes.
And
it sounds hella good.
You spin it up there, it sounds really great. It doesn't vibrate that much, so it's not really annoying. It works really nicely, but it's a very limited power range.
It's a heavy bike. Do we say 512?
Yep.
So I think it's more of a sport touring, like an Italian grand touring bike. If you could get the engine sorted to where the engine runs right, it might be a really nice motorcycle. But it's got the underseat exhaust. It's kind of passé, but it still looks cool on that bike.
But of the fully realized bikes, they're the three in the middle, right?
Yeah, these three.
The Japanese
three
650s,
Japanese
twin cylinders. The scorecard's going to be really close because all through the day we're jumping from one bike to the other and go, oh yeah, that one's the best one. Then you hop on another one, it's like, oh no, this one's really good too. And so I bet you we're all going to have different favorites among them.
Yeah, I'll tell you my favorite right now.
All right.
It's the FZ-07 engine in the Z650 chassis with the SV650 suspension components.
The Yamaha Suzuki.
Because I love the way
no cursing in Mo videos.
I love the way the SV650 handled. That felt the most planted going through the corners. You know, rippling bumps, and it didn't get upset at all.
I absolutely.
And that was one thing where the Yamaha did fall short with lack of dampening.
Yep.
And the front end of this Yamaha feels a little floppy and a little noodly, and it's really light.
I think you and Duke both need to gain like 30 or 40 pounds. Because for me, I really like the FZ-07 the best. And it feels planted to me, and it feels like I'm more over the front wheel on the FZ-07. And I've been a big fan of that bike for the last, I think it's won the both 700 middleweight comparisons we've done. The FZ we picked over the Suzuki last year.
The FZ7's motor is killer, and its agility I think is unparalleled, but its plantedness in the corners, I'd put the Z650 and the SV650 ahead of this one.
The FZ, I like the way it handles. It's real quick. And I've never had a problem with it, you know, feeling flighty on me at all. I like the way I feel like I'm more over the front wheel. It's personal preference. What I was going to wrap this up with, I don't know if we're ready to wrap yet, but last year the FZ and the SV were so close to each other. It was like this. It was super close. And
then we had to go and complicate things by adding the Z650.
The Z650 didn't exist last year, but I think this thing is real close to these two. I think it's a three-way battle. They're all really good. And I'd say it's whichever one you like the looks of. I like the looks of the FZ.
I don't. I don't. I just can't get over it. And it's not like it's an ugly bike, but it's not really beautiful either.
That's why
it's in the eye of the beholder.
It is. I think they're all like pretty much almost the same price. They're very within a few $100s of each other. Whichever one you like of these, you could buy it and live happily ever after for a long time.
Yeah,
to me.
I totally agree. If you bought one of these three bikes, I would not hold that against you because they're all that close. So if you got a great dealer near you, or you got a dealer who's willing to cut you a good price on these, that's probably the one you should buy because they are really closely matched, right?
Yep.
Agreed.
But when you look at the gloppy welds on that Suzuki and all the hoses hanging off the side, and then you look at this beautiful Yamaha. Look at that.
Beautiful plastic.
Yes, the plastic.
Plastic.
It's nice cast swing arm
it's like cargo
back here. Cast swing arm back here.
Just like the Z650.
The Z650 looks better than the SV too.
Okay, so Evans, if you had to choose one bike here, which one? No conglomeration, just one bike.
No conglomeration, I'd go with the Z650.
He's going with the Z, but he's biased from the old EX500 days.
I would, that is a portion of my decision. I do have fond memories.
Demented then, demented.
All right, John, how about you? You're gonna pick one bike.
I'd take the FZ.
Yep. I think I'd take the SV650 and put a pipe on it and make it sound like a Ducati like it should.
Yeah, you could take off the little silver S's and put a Desmo sticker on there. Most people wouldn't know the difference.
If I had to make a choice, Kawasaki.
Kawasaki, yeah.
It was the first one I got on that I went, oh yeah, this feels right. Then I talked myself into the rest of the bikes. So I'm gonna go with my gut feeling and say the Kawasaki.
Tammy, how about you?
If we're going for overall package for both use on highway and in the twisty roads, I'm going with the SV.
SV.
That's 2 votes for the SV.
That's how close it is. We've been riding these things all day. We should be able to say, oh, this one's clearly superior. These three in the middle, they're really close. So find the best deal at your dealer. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you go to Motorcycle.com, read the whole story, dyno tests, curb weights, the whole deal. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button and reply in the comments. Let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.
Bye. The Yamaha. It's the FZ.